Welcome back, listeners. My name is David Hensley. I'm the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I'm about to deliver a whole bunch of exposition to you, so you'd better keep up. I'm joined here tonight by my two partners, Cara Hayes. She is a former wrestler and will crush your balls like grapes.
Yeah.
Say hi, Cara.
Hi, Cara.
Over here, we've got my other partner. His name is Robert Bradford. By day, he works in banks, and by night, he robs them, usually after reading a good book. Say hello, Robert.
I'm on so much cocaine, I've circled around to being mellow again.
And we are continuing our, continuing our Lost 20-year retrospective with our next Lost adjacent movie, the oft talked about, I feel like I've brought it up many times over the course of this podcast, Smokin Aces from 2007, featuring 3 Lost alums. That's why I kept bringing it up, but also because I love this crazy, stupid fucking movie. But it's worth bringing up that the Lost alum that are featured in this are Matthew Fox, Nestor Carbonell, and Kevin Durand. Of the 3 of them, Nestor Carbonell gets the most love on Lost. I'm sorry, in the movie. Yeah. Matthew Fox gets the most love, on the show, and the least in the movie. It's a little disproportionate. Sorry, continue.
Well, interestingly enough, of the 3 of them, 2 are dead and 1 is possibly alive at the end of the movie, which is not dissimilar from the ratio at the end of the show.
That's a good point. Before we dive into the discussion topics, which there aren't many, a lot of them are just like my ramblings here that I put down for us. But before we dive in, what were your overall thoughts about the movie? Cara, let's start with you.
Okay, I had no idea what to expect. It was bananas, and I loved it. I just didn't know what the hell was happening. Like, I knew what was happening, but it was just all over the place, and I think it works with my stupid brain.
I love that. Robert, you weren't as high on it as the 2 of us were. What were your thoughts?
I thought it was fun. It felt a little scattered. Maybe I'll break that down a little more as we talk about it, but just kind of my initial note was that it was like, this was that time where a lot of filmmakers were trying to mark themselves out by copying Tarantino through volume of dialogue and editing. And I actually went back and scratched that out because I don't think Tarantino is the right reference there. I think it's just, this is the influence of Guy Ritchie on cinema, of just like larger than life underworld characters, frantic editing, like really intense and complex plotting, a bunch of moving pieces. And it's one of those things where I have kind of I really hate those movies, but it takes a lot for them to really click for me. There are a few that do. Like, I think Snatch is a lot of fun and works really well. But a lot of other times I kind of check out when I feel like a film is being like, oh, we're being like clever and moving parts just sort of for the sake of having them. So it was fun in the moment to watch, but I kind of, same reaction now as when I first watched it in college. I was sort of like, I don't know, I kind of expected a little more than that.
It's weird that I agree with everything you just said and yet still love this movie. Like, in spite of everything that you just said. To describe the plot of the movie to someone, I think it's interesting because it would tell you actually nothing about the movie itself. The movie is about a pair of FBI agents who are trying to protect a Las Vegas entertainer / mob informer from a bunch of hitmen trying to descend on him to kill him.
I explained it to my mom as a couple of FBI guys and mob people.
Yeah.
And they just do stuff.
That actually both is and isn't the plot of the movie. There is so much weird shit happening over the course of 95 minutes. I didn't actually look up the runtime of this movie, but it can't be that long. That explanation just feels too simple.
If you gave that summary to someone and they were like, okay, and they went and watched it, they would come back and be like, why didn't you tell me? Because it doesn't really capture the full scope of everything.
No, but speaking of why didn't you tell me, this has one of the most insanely stacked casts of any movie I have ever seen. to the point where every time somebody new popped up, I would just look over at Cara to see her reaction. This movie stars Ray Liotta, Ryan Reynolds, Ben Affleck, Andy Garcia, Jeremy Piven, Common, Alicia Keys, Jason Bateman, Joel Edgerton, Chris Pine, Tommy Flanagan, Curtis Armstrong, and Taraji P. Henson. Among some other like people, hey, it's that guy type people. Not to mention the people from Lost that I named: Matthew Fox, Nestor Carbonell, and Kevin Durand. But also, you know who isn't in this movie? The guy from 30 Rock, Jack McBrayer, who I was convinced.
You thought he was the lobby guy?
Yes, I was convinced, and I was going to put his name. I think I did put his name in the notes, and then I was going through IMDb like I'm sure I have missed somebody, and I was like, wait a minute. That wasn't that wasn't a young Jack McBrayer?
I absolutely see, because I did the same thing. I was like, is that? No.
If the movie had been made 3 years later, it 100% would have been Jack McBrayer.
Yeah. McBrayer, am I saying that wrong?
I'm not sure.
Oh, one of us is wrong.
McBrayer?
The
Probably
internet
right.
will decide. So the plot rests on the fact that one great big misunderstanding happens right off the bat. It's an easy mistake to make, though. One mob boss wants somebody else's heart. Other mob bosses assume that that's some kind of revenge or intimidation tactic, or just an especially fucked up way to kill a guy. But no, this mob boss, Primo Speranza, wants Buddy Israel's heart in the most literal sense for a heart transplant. But this kicks off a series of unfortunate events all over a $1 million bounty, which we've discussed on this show before. Seems hilariously low by 2025 standards, especially considering like the caliber of these assassins, and like they're supposed to be world-class masters of disguise, deception. Nowadays, I don't think any of them would get out of bed for anything less than 10.
Bidenomics hit us all pretty hard.
Inflation, that's what it is. I mean, really. Among all those names that I just mentioned, Robert, one of them stands out.
Yeah, so as David has alluded, there's a lot of explaining in the early acts of this movie. We have like lots of scenes of characters explaining what's going on with like montages of the people they're talking about. So you have, the FBI explaining who this Buddy Israel guy is and why he matters to the mafia. In the process, they explain about this undercover FBI agent from a long time ago who was killed by the mob boss they're trying to bring down. And Ben Affleck, I think, is the one who explains. We cut to him because he's a bail bondsman who is trying to collect Israel, who jumped bail while he's trying to cut his deal with the FBI for immunity. And so we get this kind of lengthy scene of Ben Affleck, explain to all his guys, like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in. He meets with a lawyer to get it. And it's like, okay, so Ben Affleck, he's going to be huge in this movie. Because obviously, stacked cast, but Ben Affleck was definitely the biggest star in the group.
And the most heavily advertised in all the trailers. Nope, less than 10 minutes of screen time, and contributes, well, not nothing, because the security guard uniforms that he rented to for them to sneak in with do get utilized, just not by him and his crew. Nope, shot to death before Act 2 even gets started.
And not even killed because, another assassin is trying to rub out competition or anything. No, it's three of the assassins are these like neo-Nazi metalhead like psychos, and they just decide they want to get a car that looks less conspicuous than theirs. You see in the background while Ben Affleck is talking to his guys, this like marked up painted car drives past and then slowly backs into frame, and then they just start shooting out of it, and Ben Affleck and his guys go down. So again, they didn't even know that these guys were part of the thing until after they were dead. They were just like, oh, yeah, that car looks better. Let's take that one. Kill them now.
Now, as somebody who has written screenplays before, it's the bane of any writer's existence to have to find an interesting way to get exposition out that doesn't involve a character just sitting down with another character and saying it all to them. That's boring. Unless it involves some sort of mission briefing. And like Robert said, we get 3 of those concurrently with 3 different characters telling us everything we need to know. And in context, it makes sense. We got Andy Garcia as the deputy director of the FBI explaining literally like the mission to the 2 FBI agents. We've got Ben Affleck's character explaining the mission to his 2 other bail bondsmen. And we've got Loretta explaining this kidnapping job to 2 of her best assassins. I have to imagine that when you sit down to write that, it's just like, yeah, here we go. Just break it up to 3 people and explain every damn thing.
But it goes like levels beyond that, because part of the FBI's exposition is talking about how another FBI agent once upon a time gave exposition. Like he's describing, yeah, way back when this guy went undercover with the mob, and we cut back to that guy at a different meeting explaining to the FBI, here's how I'm going to go undercover with the mob.
It's like the inception of exposition. You almost want there to be a bwom going off every time. Does anybody... Come on, Cara, you got to remember the trailer for Inception, right? With the famous bwoms.
No.
No.
Aw.
Oh, God. We got to watch the trailer for Inception after this.
Okay.
There has to have been like a joke in Community about someone doing exposition about the last time they explained what was going on to someone.
If not, there should have been. This movie has some legitimately great lines and some legitimately funny lines, and it's also got some real fucking stinkers. Related to what Robert was saying about like everyone trying to capture that Tarantino Richie magic out there. And early on during, so Ben Affleck's character is named Jack Dupree, which is something I'll bring up later on as well. Katie actually noticed this, and I was ashamed of myself because I didn't. But when Jack Dupree is describing the Tremor brothers, the aforementioned neo-Nazi psychos, he says, they're meaner than shit, they're dumber than hell, and these motherfuckers will go megaton at the drop of a hat. Which is a great fucking line.
A lot of us on some level, I think, want to be described in those terms. Maybe we don't want to be that kind of person, but like, we'll go megaton at the drop of a hat. It's like I was listening to some guys talk about Heat on a podcast one time, and Al Pacino's line about De Niro's gang of robbers. These guys are ready to rock and roll at the drop of a hat. The hosts were just like, that would be so... I hope one day people say that about me. And that's kind of where I am. It's like, don't want to be a neo-Nazi. Don't want to be like a dumb inbred, whatever is wrong with these guys. But megaton at the drop of a hat. I can see that.
I just want somebody, when describing me, to like be forced to use colorful language. Like that is the only option. You can't just be like, that David Hensley sure is neat. Like, I want them to be forced to be like, oh, well, that guy is crazy on a motherfucker. You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I was once voted most likely to go postal and shoot up the office.
Whoa.
By your current office mates?
Nope.
Or, okay, this is a while
Previous.
back.
No, she killed her old office mates.
They all died under mysterious circumstances. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're all still alive.
You didn't work in a post office, did you?
No,
Okay.
that you know of.
Well,
It's not a post office anymore.
God. Well, Robert, one of those crazy inbred neo-Nazis is played by somebody rather famous, although we didn't really know it at the time.
It is little baby Chris Pine as one of the 3 brothers. The oldest, the biggest, I don't know about age, the biggest of whom is played by Kevin Durand. There's like a smaller one who kind of just jumps around like a crazy person. And Chris Pine's the one who does most of the talking, including by ventriloquism of the guy he just shot. There's a lengthy scene after he kills Ben Affleck where he puts his hand on Affleck's face and works his jaw to have a conversation about why they needed to kill him.
That was the funniest fucking thing. I loved it.
Specifically so that Jack Dupree could forgive him for murdering him and his 2 friends. I guess so that he would walk away without that on his conscience.
And he seems to genuinely believe it based on his last conversation in the movie. But
Hence the dumber than hell.
apparently, Chris Pine was actually the second choice to play this role. The initial person cast was Michael Shannon, reportedly, who you might remember as Agent Van Alden from Boardwalk Empire, General Zod, and Man of Steel.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can see him getting on that crazy screaming wavelength really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
I can't. Maybe it's just because Chris Pine is so insane in this role, but I can't imagine Michael Shannon bringing that same kind of energy to it.
It would have been a different energy, but I could see him fitting in with like the three brothers, but at the same time, yeah, Affleck, Chris Pine, just man, so much ahead of that guy back during this part of his career.
Oh yeah,
I think this was was this the same year as the Star Trek came out that he was in, or was that?
That would be 2 years later.
2 years later.
Yeah, that would come out in 2009.
Wow.
Yeah, right? So long ago. Kill me. Well, like I said earlier, Katie pointed something out while we were watching it that I was ashamed of myself for not realizing sooner. And if it was just one name, that would be fun, which is like when Andy Garcia's character shows up, we're all like, hey, his name is Locke. Deputy Director Locke. Like Lost. It's even spelled the same way. That's fun. And then one of Buddy Israel's entourage members is named Hugo. We're like, oh, that's fun. And then there's Ben Affleck's character, Jack Dupree. So this movie includes a Jack, a Locke, and a Hugo, which feels like it has to be intentional, right?
It is for us.
Yeah.
Somehow.
There's so many characters that I can almost believe it happened by chance, but I just can't.
Yeah. Well, this movie has a lot of setup and world building for a middle section, a second act, that feels like it basically takes place in real time. And honestly, that's one of my favorite things about this movie is because once shit really goes off, yeah, there's a lot of cutting back and forth between all the various parties, but really the majority of this film takes place over the course of like an hour for everybody involved. One really shitty, very bad hour. Now, how the surviving member of the bail bondsman, how he fits into all that and has a weird side adventure fits into all that, kind of stretches that a little bit. But yeah, everything from the FBI and the assassins arriving at the Nomad Hotel and Casino up to the suite arriving is like an hour. Yeah.
Wow.
And what an hour it is because...
Yeah, you've kind of got most of your of the people trying to get to the suite are going in like trying to go in undercover, like Hitman style, like the video game. You know, you've got one actual master of disguise who's making like plaster masks of people's faces. One guy who like disguises himself as an FBI agent so he can get close to the chief of security, then kills the chief of security and takes his stuff to get up. And then you've got the two female assassins, one of whom basically disguised herself as one of the hookers being taken up to the guy's suite. And then you've got these three neo-Nazis who are just like, we get to the elevator, we go up the elevator, we shoot everybody, and then we get him. So it's just like, it's almost like, again, I was thinking a lot of the Hitman video game series, and I'm like, yep, this is basically every way of playing that game there is.
Pretty much, yeah. Special mention has to go to the completely inept security guards on the top level of the penthouse level of the casino who let the Tremor brothers fully get off the elevator before they think it might be time to start shooting at them, at which point it's already too late for them.
I mean, I can believe that like the smoke, the flashing lights, and then the guys running out with running chainsaws might slow you down for those few seconds.
Yeah, long enough to gawk because it's Chris Pine leading the pack with a shotgun in one hand and a submachine gun in the other. But yeah, we get shots of all three of them, or a single shot of all three of them leaving the elevator and running in different directions. I feel like if I were one of those security guards, the second I saw the man with the chainsaw, I would just start blasting.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I'm thinking of I want to say it's Iron Man 3. There's a scene where like Tony Stark has like part of his armor on and he takes out like a room full of guys and he gets to the last guy and turns his hand blaster on him. The guy just immediately puts his hands up, drops his gun and goes, you know what? These guys are weird. I'm out of here. And then just like runs out the door. And I was surprised none of the security guards were at that point by the time the rest of their crew had been wiped out.
Yeah. It really doesn't work out for that one guy who gets set on fire, especially.
Oof.
That is about as not worked out as it can get.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's that chainsaw incident.
Where Kevin Durand's character falls on his ass on his running chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh.
The middle section here gets insane because the big FBI shootout happens. I want to say it was on floor number 7. Is that something around there?
Sounds right. Halfway up, basically.
Halfway up the building, the FBI are getting sniped by one of the 2 female assassins from a completely different building, having their own extremely dramatic adventure. And then at the top floor, we've got madcap insanity going on, which I think is kind of perfectly hits the nail on the head of like the 2 very different sides of this movie.
Yeah, and I'm just going to note that there's kind of a third drama going on with Jeremy Piven's character, because so we find out that this guy was like a successful stage magician who then kind of Sinatra style became friends with the mafia and actually got fully into that life. And he's where he is now because he was never actually that good at it, and so he's trying desperately to save his own ass and get out. And Piven plays this guy like it is a 3-hour like Scorsese crime epic, and we're at like his lowest point. Like we've seen him at all the different stages, and now we're seeing his most depressed. And he's in that register for basically the whole movie.
He's
like,
channeling Ray Liotta as Henry Hill in Goodfellas.
Yeah,
specifically the third act of Goodfellas.
Yeah, like
Yes.
if you never saw him like on the rise or in the good times, and he's so committed, and it's a good performance, but it's so depressing and kind of unpleasant to watch that it's sort of, for me, it was that was actually the thing that just kind of took me out of the movie. I'm just like, this guy is such a bummer. Like, can we please go back to the people like shooting each other in elevators? Because yeah, like Piven never like plays him as comedic. Really, he's just this guy who's destroyed his life and can only get out by selling out the only people who have showed him loyalty. And again, I don't know what method acting Piven brought to this, but he really successfully plays a guy who has finally run out of cocaine. And yeah, it's tough.
His performance in this movie is insane. And I mean that in the best possible way, because this might be the best performance Jeremy Piven ever gave. His final breakdown on the phone with his lawyer, which Curtis Armstrong is also great in this fucking movie for what little he gets to do, playing Buddy's poor beleaguered lawyer, going to bat for him against the FBI. The scene where Buddy's lawyer calls him crying to tell him everything's gone to shit, and then watching Buddy just fold and then go and get one of the biggest revolvers I've ever seen and try to shoot himself with it before he collapses.
Apparently it's not one of that apparently is the largest revolver model that's like actually sold.
Oh,
I believe it. That whole scene is just heartbreaking. So the fact that it is sandwiched with what I'm going to talk about next is bonkers. You talk about watching things that are unpleasant. Let's talk about the little kid. That poor Hollis, one of the bail bondsmen, the one that survives, gets his fingers shot off, gets hypothermia, trudges through the woods trying to find help, ends up on the doorstep of this delightful old woman and her madcap grandson, who is practicing quote-unquote karate or something, and throwing around like homophobic slurs, and it's so weird.
We get a visible close-up of this underage boy's erection at one point.
I didn't like. Oh, yeah, it's just so icky.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this scene. I just every time we cut to that kid, I was like, oh please, can we go somewhere else now? This is not. This isn't funny to me. This is like the worst of Michael Bay humor. And while there are some things I'll actually defend Michael Bay on, his sense of humor ain't one of them.
Yeah, and you could also, aside from Hollis being the one that ultimately kills the final Tremor brother, you could remove this subplot from the movie and it would not change a thing.
No, but you wouldn't be grossed out.
No.
I would have been fine with just like occasionally checking in to show him like stumbling through the woods or like walking down the road, just, you know, the story of this guy like Revenant style dragging himself to the place where he knows their killers went to.
I would even be fine, like he ends up at the home of an eccentric old woman who helps him out and accidentally provides him with a handgun. But all of that, if we didn't have this subplot, we wouldn't get one of my favorite lines in the whole fucking movie.
Masterfully delivered.
The old woman that's helping him out delivers this line: "My boy Dale is at the Reno Correctional Facility. He's got some clarity issues, did some home invasion, sodomy, torture type stuff, wrote a lot of bad checks."
So much stuff.
A lot to unpack there, but the way she delivers this line kills me every single time I hear it. It's sodomy, torture type stuff, wrote a lot of bad checks in succession. That really...
So matter of fact, like just no hint of it. I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Yeah, her sweet boy.
Just the kind of salt of the earth person you'd probably find in any random trailer park in America.
Lake Tahoe especially. Any Lake Tahoeans out there listening to me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. So we kind of just glossed over the middle section because to talk about it, I think would require a whole nother hour of this podcast. One of the things that this film is famous for is the ending, and specifically the twist, the Buddy Israel Primo Speranza twist, being father and son, and who Primo Speranza really is, and all that. And it's a lot the first time you see it, but once you know the twist, my God, this movie spells it out for you the entire time to the point where you kind of feel dumb for not getting it earlier. Cara, were you able to clock the twist before Andy Garcia outright tells the audience?
Oh, no,
I didn't either the first time I watched it. I was as surprised as anyone else. Like, wow, that is a great fucking twist. Every time I have watched it since then, I've gone, I'm a fucking idiot. It tries so hard to telegraph that these two people are the same person.
Well, I mean, I got suspicious that because I'm like, why do they keep bringing this guy up?
And specifically showing the flashback to when he was the Primo supposedly
surgery.
killed. Yeah, they mentioned that he had a ton of plastic surgery, which is basically Hollywood code for telling you he's actually somebody you've seen on screen already. And they keep flashing back specifically to him supposedly murdering this deep undercover FBI agent. Like really specifically, like him being shot through a window out of his car and all that.
Yeah, like back-to-back scenes of, hey, here's the FBI agent in the 40s explaining, more exposition, like Robert said, the kind of plastic surgery he's going to undergo. A scene later, here's Ryan Reynolds' character discussing this mob boss and all the plastic surgeries he's had. Yeah, they lay it on kind of thick.
And by the way, the FBI agent's name was one of the most screenwriterist names ever, Freeman Heller.
More screenwritery than Primo Speranza?
Well, you know, I think the reason that I sort of discounted, you know, I mean, obviously I knew they were bringing him up for some reason, but I was trying to do the math in my head that if he was a 40s gangster or a 40s FBI turned gangster, he would have been born approximately in the 20s. This movie takes place in the 2000s. So Jeremy Piven's, like, I literally was trying to do the math and I was like, but the math doesn't math. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's why I was like, no.
Al Pacino's last child was born just a few years ago when he was 80 years old.
Oh, fuck.
So yeah, if you assume that, even if we take it back a step further and say that Freeman Heller was born in the, let's say 1920, that would make him 87-ish at the time the movie takes place. Yeah, it's not unreasonable to think he would have still been having kids at like 50, 55, depending on how old Buddy Israel's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That got me thinking about if they'd set this movie like in the 80s or something, and I didn't really have much to say about that, except that one thing about when this movie is set, like around the time it's released, you know what I miss? Being able dramatically to slap a phone shut to end a conversation. Because there's a bunch of that when like Ryan Reynolds or Ray Liotta gets a call and it's like, all right, we got to go get him now. Or wait, what do you mean they said there's an FBI agent in the hotel? And they like slap their cell phone shut and get like take off. And you really can't do that with a smartphone.
I miss the days of slamming a phone down.
Oh, see, I still do that a lot at my day job.
Oh, I do that with my mouse, not my phone. Phone's more expensive.
Half of the phone calls that I get when I'm at work end in me just slamming the receiver down like, fuck, I hate all of you idiots.
Yeah.
You're talking about like dramatically flipping phone shut. I didn't put it in here, but I think it's worth mentioning. This was from the Ryan Reynolds era where he actually tried.
It was before there was a Ryan Reynolds screen personality. Like he'd done, I think it was it Van Wilder?
Yep.
And he was trying to sort of establish himself as more of a serious guy. I think it was a couple of years before, Buried. But yeah, definitely well before like kind of Deadpool locked him into, okay, this is going to be the Ryan Reynolds thing you get from now on.
Yeah. There's this, and around the same time, he was doing a lot of weird indie stuff like The Nines, which is still one of the most indie, most weird films I've ever seen, but it's great. There's another one when he was still living in Canada. I cannot remember the name of it to save my life. But he's like part of this trio of friends who plan bank robberies that they're never going to execute, but they just want to see if it could be done, to the point where they like build sets in a warehouse to try to like, oh, this is the right number of steps you need to take and blah, blah, blah. And then an actual bank robber extorts them into pulling off one of the ones they planned. It's a great fucking movie. I cannot for the life of me remember the title of it, though. Look it up. It's great. Anyway, Ryan Reynolds actually can turn it on and give a good performance and not just be himself.
Yeah, he's like 95% less wisecracking than you expect in this. The only, I think, bit of that we get are his scenes where he and Ray Liotta are just kind of shooting the breeze while they're waiting for like to get the go ahead or while they're on surveillance. Apparently because a lot of that dialogue was improvised, but yeah, once he's actually like running around the hotel, he kind of is in like serious agent mode.
Yeah, which continues on through the end of the movie, in which he might be. Yeah, I don't know if this is his fault or the screenwriters. I said this movie's got some great fucking lines, two of which I've already mentioned. Then we get one of those egregiously trying too hard lines. It sounds like it's straight out of a 1940s noir, which is normally the sort of thing I love. But he tells Andy Garcia's character, shit can the cue card rhetoric. That is not something a human being has ever said outside of a movie or a pulp novel. It's a fun line, sure. And he does his best with the delivery of it. But every time I'm like, that's not a thing people say.
I have a vision of a screenwriter looking at a word processor where he's written the words shut up. And after some thinking, he writes, shut the fuck up. And he pauses and thinks harder. And then 6 hours later, we have that line.
Shit can the cue card rhetoric. Yeah. So let's take it out on this question. When is the movie better? When it's being dead serious? Because at the like 2/3 mark, before we get to the ending, the comedy in this movie just goes out the window. They shoo out the clowns. There's no more wackiness. It's all dark all the time. And the end of the movie is really fucking tragic if you stop and think about it. So when is the movie better? When it's being serious or when it's trying to be a wacky action comedy? What do y'all think?
Wow.
I would say probably in the wacky action comedy style. There's a version of this that plays it straight the entire time, and it looks a lot more like the Raid Redemption or something. If they wanted to have this cast of like wacky outsized characters, then yeah, they needed to commit harder to that. Or at least, I don't know, the twist is not insane enough to really feel like it belongs in the same movie as man sits down on running chainsaw.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would say that's both. Cara, what do you think?
I mean, I can honestly say the crazy shit was by far my favorite parts. So I would have to agree with that. It just, because it was just so insane. It just, I just enjoyed that weirdness.
Like the moments that come close to like, okay, here's like kind of a quiet dramatic moment that still sort of lands are still the ones that are rooted in that insanity. Like when Nestor Carbonell's character stabs the hotel's chief of security to death and then like kind of talks weirdly comfortingly to him as he's dying and then closes his eyes and says, don't let this face be the last thing you see because heaven may hold it against you. Which is so weird and so crazy, but also kind of sweet. And then, yeah, we get like moments where it's like, oh, we should feel sad that like the sniper character played by Taraji P. Henson, just before like the FBI gets to the hotel room where she is, she sees her partner, maybe lover, being carried out by Common and looking kind of lovingly at him. And it's like, oh, I guess that's meant to be sort of a really sympathetic moment for this lady who's just blown a bunch of FBI agents away. Or, yeah, that like Ryan Reynolds is like, I guess his belief in like the FBI and like the decency of American law enforcement has been shattered at the end of this movie, which this didn't seem like the kind of movie that had people who believed in the decency of American law enforcement.
No, it does really hammer home just how shitty bureaucracy can be. I do love the last scene in this movie a lot. It is weird, like wildly out of place compared to the 2/3 that came before it. I think this is an ending to a different movie.
Yeah, and it's well executed for that.
Yeah. The score is what makes the last scene. From the second he walks into this little what would you call it? Like the clean room that they're being kept in. And I think again this screenwriter heard the phrase pull the plug and took it a little bit too literally, because that's what he does. He pulls the plug on these two characters, which wouldn't actually kill either of them, especially not as quickly as it happens on camera. But we'll let it go because it's a movie.
I also didn't think that hospitals made their doors like so reinforced that like multiple grown men slamming at them with everything they've got. Like,
Oh, I didn't think they were actually in a hospital. Like, I thought this was like a FBI safe house compound. I don't know. Thing.
You see Ryan Reynolds' character like walking into the front entrance of a hospital and past a couple of nurses.
Oh.
Yeah.
I forgot about, yeah.
And then for the first time ever, I had never noticed before, as he's walking up, and I think maybe it's because we had the subtitles turned on, Andy Garcia's character is talking to somebody about like how they're going to make Buddy's death look like an accident.
oh, I missed that.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck, never caught that before. But yeah, so yeah, and of course, like they get the run of this hospital, it seems like, because there's a bunch of FBI agents and this Swedish doctor just doing whatever the fuck they want.
Like you do.
Yeah, you know.
2007.
Yeah, exactly. It was a different time back then.
I will say, of all the countries in the world where you could find a doctor who would perform a heart transplant for a mafia kingpin and with a presumably unwilling, definitely unconscious donor, didn't think Sweden would be where you'd go for that. I feel like you'd have to go further east in Europe to be like, you know, this is the finest heart surgeon in Kyrgyzstan or something.
Well, but they already had the Eastern European character in Hugo.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I said Kyrgyzstan. I think that's actually in Asia. My bad. Sorry, listeners.
You've obviously just offended a large portion of our listening fan base. Yeah, they really go out of their way to try to represent all the countries in the world in this one, don't they?
yes, they do.
I don't think there were actually any. I just mentioned Kyrgyzstan being Asia. I don't think there are any Asian characters in this movie. What's that about?
Explain yourself, Smokin Aces. Anyway.
I have something, I guess a little disturbing. I'm not really sure. So, you know, we were talking about the $1 million and how just ridiculous that sounds. Adjusted for inflation, $1 million in 2007 would basically be the same buying power as $1.6 million today.
Really? I thought it would go higher. Okay.
Great. That's what I thought too.
I think the value of the dollar hasn't gone up very much. It's just everything around it that has.
Well, but adjusted for inflation, that's the buying power. That $1 million, then you've only got another 600,000.
Womp.
Yeah.
Talking about the kind of tonal all over the placeness of this movie, this director, Joe Carnahan's done a fair number of other. He's been working pretty steadily since then. Back in 2022, I think, I saw a movie he made called Cop Shop, which is actually kind of similar. You've got a mob witness played by Frank Grillo, who is on Peacemaker, was in the most recent Superman. Basically, he knows the mob is hunting him, so he basically just walks up to a cop on the side of the street and punches the guy so he'll get taken in, thinking that's the safest place he can be till he can figure something else out. and a hitman played by Gerard Butler then does the exact same thing to get himself locked up in the same jail, and another hitman is coming to kill, and it's just like similar thing, but it's just kind of focused on those three crooks and then the station full of cops around them. Also kind of dark, also has sort of that same like gonzo sense of humor, but I think balances its tone a little more neatly just because it feels like most of the scenes and characters can happen in the same world. So yeah, David, did you see that one?
I have not, mostly because I it seemed like the kind of straight to streaming kind of thing that, well, let's be honest, Gerard Butler has become known for, and even though I love him now, like Frank Grillo is kind of also guilty of that for a long time. But no, I will check that out.
I think it actually stars someone that your wife went to college with, because I remember when I shared seeing it on Facebook, Katie mentioned, she's like, oh yeah, I know her, and I was like, wait, what? And I'm not able to pull it up online right now. Hold on, let me see if I can find her name. But yeah, she's a graduate of UNC Charlotte, so
Oh, wow.
yeah, Katie might recognize her.
Yeah, let's vamp while you look that up. Okay, so Cara, did you have any final thoughts about Smokin' Aces before we wrap up?
I don't know that I'll ever watch it again, but damn, I'm glad I saw it.
I'm glad you did too, but also I would recommend watching it again just so that you can look at how telegraphed that ending is in retrospect. Yeah.
I just realized we didn't talk about the beverage we had there.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
the one that I tried to give away in the last episode because time has no meaning. Yeah. So what was our themed cocktail?
So because the title of the movie is Smokin' Aces, I wanted to go with a very smoky beverage, and the smokiest spirit that I know of is mezcal. For those of you who haven't had it, it's basically it's kind of a cousin to tequila, but it's just a very, very smoky flavor. Often it's mixed with things like reposado or something. So I mixed that with some lime juice and some sparkling ice lemonade. And yeah, so basically just a smoky lemonade variant.
And it was fantastic. I described it as the kind of drink that goes down a little bit too easy. Like you might be sitting there and have 2 or 3 of them, and it has no effect on you until you go to stand up and you go, oh shit. Yeah, very good. Robert, you are a master craftsman at the cocktails.
I need to start prepping my season 5 list. The actress's name is Alexis Louder. She was also in Violent Night, the movie with David Harbour as Santa Claus. So she's been a pretty steady working actress.
Good for her. Very nice. We're recording these 2 episodes back to back, so I feel like the answers are generally going to be the same as last time.
Are we going to go through our rankings?
Oh, that's right. Yes, Robert had the idea of let's talk about the 5 movies that we have watched so far in our Lost adjacent viewings between seasons, and let's rank them all. So who would like to go first? Who wants to share their rankings?
Well, Robert, since you thought of it, I think you should do it. You should go first.
So number 1, I went with Brick. Number 2, I went with The Stepfather, which is a movie that I've just felt fonder of every time I think about it. 3 and 4 were tough. I gave Smokin' Aces the edge over Mission Impossible 2. Again, I was kind of mad on Smokin' Aces, but man, Mission Impossible 2 is just a dumpster fire in places. And then, The Stepfather 2, which has pretty much nothing besides Terry O'Quinn to recommend it.
And Cara, I just looked at your list and I am in shock.
Yes.
What are your rankings?
Okay, so my number 1 is The Stepfather. Y'all, I love cheesy 80 horror shit. I just love it. You throw Terry O'Quinn, oh my God, I'm definitely gonna love it. So yeah, that was my number 1, followed by Smokin' Aces. Then I had to put The Stepfather 2 above Mission Impossible because, yeah. And then I know, like, you both are just appalled, but Brick is my number 5 because,
That
Wow.
I know.
That hurts me to hear you say that because
I know. Like, there was stuff I liked about it, but overall, I just was like the suspension of disbelief it just I could not get past most of it.
Okay.
This is not how teenagers talk.
Yeah.
Well, my list is very similar to Robert's, to the point where I almost started reading his list in the notes. My number 1 is Brick. Number 2, Smokin Aces. Number 3, The Stepfather. Number 4, The Stepfather 2. And then number 5, Mission Impossible 2, because, yeah, Robert, dumpster fire is the best way to describe that movie, and yet I do love it. I've watched it several times.
Got some brilliant sequences. It just does not work together.
It's everything in between those sequences.
Yeah, and there's a lot of bad stuff in that movie. Anyway, yeah, so those are our power rankings. It'll be interesting to see how that changes, because I know that we have talked about Bone Tomahawk being our next one, and that's going to be a real side splitter. Thank you. I'll be here all week. All right, so like I said, we're recording these back to back. If you want to hear our recommendations, you can really just go back to last week's season 4 recap and hear those. Reading books is good for you, folks. Do more of that. If you want to follow us online, you can do that on Instagram at Long Walk Podcasts, plural. If you want to keep up with Long Walk Productions, you can visit us online at longwalk.us. To see more of our original work or hear past episodes that are no longer streaming, you can follow the YouTube links in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening, and if you enjoy this show, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening on.